Every city has its stories. Stories whispered from one generation to the next, growing taller and stranger with every retelling. Some are harmless, some are cautionary, and some linger just at the edge of belief. Tonight, we explore one such story, a street in a quiet part of the city, where, according to legend, a single streetlight has been mysteriously vanishing, or rather, flickering at odd hours. Those who walked beneath it at night reported seeing shadows, hearing distant footsteps, and some claimed people disappeared without a trace. It's the kind of story that spreads quickly, because it's just believable enough to make you wonder, could it be true? But every legend has a root, every whisper has a beginning, and tonight, we're going to follow the trail that separates truth from myth. Our story begins on Maple Street, a narrow lane lined with row houses, each painted in muted colors, their windows glowing faintly as night falls. For decades, locals have noticed one lamppost at the corner, just past the old bakery, behaving strangely. Sometimes it flickers when no wind blows. Sometimes it goes dark for hours, only to return as if nothing had happened. Many dismissed it as electrical quirks, but the stories persisted, amplified by each retelling. Children whispered about seeing figures near the lamp at midnight. Neighbors swore the light held a presence, watchful, quiet, unrelenting. Curiosity led me to investigate. I arrived on a chilly autumn evening, the sky heavy with clouds, streets empty except for the distant hum of a passing train. The lamp stood silently at its post, its glow faint but steady. I waited. Minutes passed, then hours, and slowly, the light began to dim, not flicker, but fade, almost imperceptibly. I examined the lamp closely. The wiring was old, frayed in places, and the power supply showed intermittent voltage drops. A simple technical explanation, yet the timing, the stories, the rumors of vanishing figures, suggested something more. I spoke with longtime residents. Mrs. Carmichael, who lived across the street for 40 years, recalled seeing her neighbor, a young man, vanish one night. She described a shadow stretching from the lamp to the sidewalk, as if someone, or something, was guiding him silently. Another neighbor, a shopkeeper, insisted he saw a figure crouched near the lamp, watching the street for hours. But when he approached, the figure was gone, leaving only the faint scent of autumn leaves and damp stone. The truth, as I discovered, was less eerie but no less fascinating. The electrical faults explained the lamp's mysterious behavior. The vanishing people were misremembered or coincidental absences. Yet, when combined with our imaginations, and the darkness of a quiet street at night, a legend was born. A story that taught us to be wary, to wonder, and to watch our surroundings more closely. This is how myths persist. A small technical fault, a few coincidences, and the natural human need for stories. The lamp still flickers today, but now it does so with a name. The vanishing streetlight, a reminder that reality and imagination often dance together, and that the most compelling stories are those that leave just enough room for doubt. And so, as we leave Maple Street tonight, remember, every shadow could hide a truth. Every quiet street may carry a story, and every city legend deserves a closer look. Stories don't end with a single telling. They grow, they evolve, they linger in places we least expect. Last week, we explored Maple Street and the mysterious vanishing streetlight. Tonight, our journey continues a few blocks away, to Willow Street, a street equally ordinary, yet steeped in whispers of shadows that move when no one is watching. It begins with a report from 1998. A man walking home late at night claimed to see something unusual. A figure standing perfectly still under a flickering lamp, then vanish as he blinked. At the time, police dismissed it as imagination, but the story persisted in the community, passed along by neighbors, children, and shopkeepers alike. I arrived at Willow Street just as the sun dipped below the horizon. Streetlights flickered on one by one, casting long, uneven shadows across the sidewalks. I walked slowly, careful to observe every detail, knowing that what may seem ordinary can hide a pattern, and patterns are what legends are made of. Near the corner, a small park separated two rows of houses. The playground was empty, but the swings swayed lightly, as if a phantom breeze carried them. I knelt to examine the ground and noticed faint marks in the dirt, footsteps too regular to be random. These marks repeated the shape of the shadow reported years ago, a long, elongated figure that seemed almost human but distorted, as if stretched by the imagination of those who remembered it. I checked old news reports and city archives, finding several accounts of missing items, strange noises, and unexplained sightings, all concentrated on the same block. None were violent, none caused harm, but each added a layer to the legend, a hint that something unseen was interacting with those who walked Willow Street at night. As I documented each mark, each shadow, I realized the city itself was a storyteller. Every corner, every flickering light, every unnoticed detail added depth to a narrative that had been growing for decades. And here's a small truth about legends: they are meant to be shared. If you're enjoying this journey, noticing the details, you might consider following the series closely. That way, the next story, the next shadow, will arrive directly in your view, just as these legends intended. I walked further, tracing the faint trail of footprints, and came upon a mailbox slightly ajar. Inside, a folded piece of paper with an indistinct symbol, a circle intersected by a short line, echoing the shapes we've seen in Maple Street. It was subtle, easily overlooked. But small details like this matter. They connect the dots, and in these connections, the truth often hides. By the time I left Willow Street, the shadows had lengthened, the streetlights flickered softly, and the legend had grown another layer. Every city has its stories, every street its secrets, and if we pay attention, we realize that history is not only what is recorded, but what lingers in the spaces we walk every day. Legends don't just live in stories. They linger in spaces we pass every day, waiting for someone to notice. Alleyways, street corners, forgotten parks, these are the quiet stages where myths come alive. After investigating Willow Street, I was drawn to an alley that had been quietly whispered about for decades. Harrison Alley, a narrow passage connecting two main streets, lined with brick buildings that had stood since the early 1900s. Locals claimed that, late at night, faint whispers could be heard, soft, unintelligible, but unmistakably human in tone. Some dismissed it as the wind or the echoes of the city. Others claimed to have seen fleeting shadows, just out of the corner of their eye. I arrived shortly after midnight. Fog rolled through the alley, curling around the dim lampposts and pooling in the low spots of the cracked pavement. Each step I took echoed softly, carrying my presence down the passage like a ripple. I stopped midway, listening. For a long moment, there was nothing, and then, faintly, a whisper. Not one voice, several, overlapping, barely perceptible. It was as if the walls themselves were murmuring secrets. I followed the sound cautiously, taking notes and marking positions. The whispers weren't random, they moved with me, fading when I paused, intensifying when I advanced. Patterns began to emerge, subtle rhythms that reminded me of the symbols we saw on Maple Street and Willow Street. Here's where the story becomes fascinating. The alley had been part of the city's layout for over a century. But the whispered patterns correlated with old letters and reports from missing persons archives. Details that had been overlooked were forming a narrative, a silent communication through time and space. I examined the brick walls closely. Etchings, worn by age, almost invisible in the fog, tiny marks resembling the circles and lines from previous investigations. Not graffiti, intentional, deliberate. The realization struck me. Someone, or something, was using the city itself to leave a message. Symbols, whispers, shadows, a network of clues hidden in plain sight. And here's the remarkable part. Legends are self-perpetuating. The whispers drew attention, the attention reinforced belief, and belief shaped reality. As a storyteller of these mysteries, I found myself part of the pattern. And so do you, the viewer. If you're noticing these connections, following the path, or even pausing to think about the whispers, you're participating in the legend. And for those who enjoy uncovering these mysteries, following the series closely ensures you'll see every hidden clue as it emerges. As I continued down Harrison Alley, I spotted something unusual, a small, folded piece of paper tucked into the corner of a drainpipe. The handwriting was neat, deliberate, almost like a signature. A symbol. A circle with 3 short intersecting lines. Familiar, echoing the same motif we discovered in Maple Street and Willow Street. The whispers stopped abruptly as I picked up the note. Silence fell, heavier than before, as if the alley itself had acknowledged my discovery. I unfolded the paper and read a single phrase. "You are seeing clearly." No signature, no date, just confirmation that the legend was far from over. Walking back through the alley, I felt a heightened awareness of the city around me. Every shadow, every flickering light, every narrow passage might hold another layer of the story. And I knew, this is exactly how legends survive, through attention, observation, and a willingness to believe in the unseen.